What movie am I reviewing this week? Battleship? You mean, like the board game? How do I feel about that? The first thing that comes to mind is... Monopoly! Connect 4! Yahtzee.
I review movie previews.
What's up, good movie lovers, and welcome to a preview review for Battleship. Oh, sorry, I mispronounced that. I mean, Battleship. I want to hate the out of this movie. It would be so easy to take a big, critical all over the deck of this sacrilegious abomination to all that is good in cinema, as it sails on the sea of anti-creativity and reverse inspiration. But that wouldn't serve us in the long term. It would feel great to vent, but we're on a mission to find movie truth. And no matter the movie, there is wisdom to be found, understanding to be revealed, and enlightenment to be discovered. So let's take a breath, quiet our internal rage-fueled judgments, and get zen, and pull back our perspective to see the bigger picture and find the story behind the story. The first question is, why? Why does this quote-unquote adaptation exist? Have we, the story-hungry good movie lovers of the world, ever demanded that this multi-generationally recognized rite of childhood passage be made into a movie? No. It's safe to say that no one who has ever played or heard of the concept of Battleship has ever said or even thought it would be cool to see this on the big screen. Why? Because there's no obvious story. There are no characters, no personalities, no emotions. Battleship is a glorified version of tic-tac-toe, an exercise in theory, not in drama. It's not like a comic book, video game, TV show, novel, or even an action figure toy line. In all of those cases, there are usually people involved, ideas, or at bare minimum, lifestyle concepts that are being explored. There's a bigger picture involving human beings. When compared to Battleship, Barbie and Transformers have Shakespearean potential. This leaves us with an ugly truth. More than any movie in recent cash-in on the pre-existing fanbase name memory, this is unabashedly, in-our-face, Garden of Eden naked, flopping around, taunting us, bastard spawn of Gordon Gekko and Scrooge McDuck, Uber 1999 stock market tech bubble, greed-fueled marketing. It's not about adapting a board game. It's about manipulating, tricking, and deceiving our minds, like Pavlov's dog, with the powerful emotional weapons of familiarity and nostalgia. If the goal was to take the severed tail of the slowest sperm of inspiration that squirms around in a circle stuck in the fallopian tube of the womb of would-be creativity, futilely hoping, like a twitching, salivating, one-word repeating, short-circuited madman, to fertilize an egg of an idea that could grow into a fully formed, logical, emotional, character-based, entertaining story, then this shoots more blanks than a machine gun action sequence in a Michael Bay movie. The whole concept of the board game is naval strategy. Strategy is slow, calculating, like a game of chess. It's designed to be quiet and engrossing in a when we were able to actually pay attention before the internet and cell phone kind of way. And anyways, Battleship has already unofficially been made into a movie a few times. The best version would be 1981's Das Boot. In 1995, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington were in a pretty good version called Crimson Tide. Add to that 1964's Failsafe as a great example of capturing tension, and the overall tone and style of a true Battleship adaptation has already been done and currently is out of date, irrelevant, and doomed to fail because the concept belongs to a World War I, II, and Cold War mentality. The first commercially available version of the game was in 1931 by Milton Bradley. The board game we all know didn't exist till 1967. Of course it's not going to matter to us today. It's born out of a different place in time and space. Our collective consciousness has evolved since then. We don't have the time or interest today to fight by saying E6, then waiting for a reply. Miss. Wow. It's as exciting as watching the EKG reading of a coma patient. That's the funny thing about Zeitgeist. It permeates the membrane that separates the eternal from the temporal via the conduit of art. Board games, as much as novels, music, or movies, capture these truths like children catching lightning bugs on a July summer night. Monopoly illustrates the economic climate of the early 1900s just as much as, and if not better, than Oliver Stone's Wall Street did of the 1980s. Someone once said, "There is nothing insignificant in the world. It all depends on the point of view." It's easy to classify Battleship as simply a celluloid atrocity, but that would be lazy. Everything has a metaphoric meaning. We have to shift our point of view and switch our predator vision to a different frequency in order to see the movie truth that this offers. Like the original game captured the spirit of the times back in the early 1900s, this movie reveals to us the spirit of our times. Fearful storytelling based in safe, predictable, repeatable, box office guaranteed bottom lines born out of a lack of courage, a terror of the unknown, which results in stagnation and regression of consciousness. We need new stories, new explorations in order to nurture our spirit, complementing our need for knowledge that serves our mental growth and edible nutrients which serve our physical growth. Movies are a journey of the heart and soul. New ideas keep it and us vital, alive, and relevant. Lately, most mainstream movies have been using the same corpse, changing its clothing, and puppeteering it through predictable, recycled, familiar feelings and action. The marketing makes our eyes believe that it's really alive, but our hearts know better. As someone once said, "Search your feelings, Luke. You know it to be true." Because a tense, character-based drama filled with authentic to the out-of-date story material would come off as fresh as a Three Stooges movie. What? They're remaking that too? What the f***? Universal Pictures is savvy enough to know that there needs to be something newer, or at least fresh enough in that sort of just starting to rot browning banana kind of way. So all the talented and educated, experienced filmmakers here met up with a room full of accountants and economic strategists. They all aggregated their data, hoping to find what we, the audience, would want to see in a Battleship film, and came up with Aliens. This is now Battleship versus Spaceship, or Navy versus Aliens, made by the Asylum with a Hollywood-sized budget. Which, if it was titled that, I could live with, because at least it would be honest, instead of pretending the story matters and making it seem like this isn't just an exercise in cashing in on a product and name that has what advertisers are horrifically, in a George Orwell 1984 kind of way, calling mindshare or mind space, as in how much of our awareness a product has. With the inclusion of Aliens, this becomes a late 80s, early 90s relevant story. Imagine if at the end of James Cameron's still underappreciated sci-fi environmental friendly message movie The Abyss, where towards the end the aliens, at least in the uncut version, emerge from the depths of the ocean and reveal themselves. If that continued, the Navy would show up and a battle would ensue. That's basically the story here. The Abyss Part 2. The story twist here is that these aliens want to create a power source using the Earth's oceans, a concept basically borrowed from V, the TV series back in the 80s. Throw in some Independence Day tone and let's sprinkle a little Transformers in there because this is being marketed as from Hasbro, creator of Transformers. The effects here are straight out of cutting room floor leftover Transformers CGI. It's obvious Hasbro realizes we, the audience, will respond on a subconscious level to all these similarities. Watch the preview again. It looks exactly like Michael Bay would have filmed this. Patriotic shots of ships, a hottie laying on the beach, meteor things, alien cannonball style crashing into the earth, leaving comet tail streaks of fire, and the attack on the city towards the end when the buildings are falling apart is straight out of Dark of the Moon. It's even scored by Transformers composer Steve Jablonsky. It seems that much like Jerry Bruckheimer influenced the style of Bay and Tony Scott during the 90s, Hasbro and Bay have now established a tone and style over the last 6 years of making Transformers films that they intend to carry forward in their future film. Then, as if the producers here are playing a game of movie ship, studio versus audience, they set up another piece on their side of the board, hoping to strike at our bank accounts. Rihanna, the singer. If there's any doubt that story, character, and in this case, acting aren't on the priority list here, consider it erased. Because come on, there's no reason for Rihanna to be in this movie. Next up, right out of the Hasbay T-Former's strategy, is to get a model. Here, it's Brooklyn Decker, known for her Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret swimsuit hottie posing. She's acted before in shows like Chuck, Royal Pains, and Ugly Betty, but does that really matter? Also, it seems like the preview purposely makes her look like a young Charlize Theron, just to confuse us even more. The main character, Lieutenant Alex Hopper, is played by Taylor Kitsch, also starring in this year's John Carter. He's been around a while, establishing some skills on shows like Friday Night Lights. Though here, he's basically doing a version of Channing Tatum imitating James Franco's character from 2006's Annapolis. Regarding the characters here, the best story Hasbay can come up with is to take the Ben Affleck, Liv Tyler, Kate Beckinsale relationships from Armageddon and Pearl Harbor, mash them up, and cast Liam Neeson instead of Bruce Willis as the disapproving father figure. And that's supposed to make us care if Battleship can destroy the UFO. Give me Randy Quaid and Will Smith any day over that option. This could also be called primitive weapons versus advanced technology. The teaser preview ends in a very cliche way when Liam Neeson, or sorry, here playing Admiral Shane, says, "Prepare to fire." Then someone asks, "Sir, which weapons?" And in a badass Taken A-Team 80s movie action kind of way, he says, "All of them." Then we see the overhead shot of the oversized Looney Tune handguns firing. It seems cool, until we realize it's bullets versus aliens. They have a force field. They have ships that can fly in outer space. Our ships can float on water. This movie should be 30 minutes long. Act 1, that's it. Humans find aliens, humans fire primitive guns, aliens aren't hurt, aliens obliterate humans with their super tech. But instead, we're introduced to John Carter in love with hottie swimsuit. They want to be together, but Daddy Ra's al Ghul doesn't like Gambit because he has talent, but wasted around with Victoria's Secret fantasy model. They're on a training mission, doing war games, or some boring bullshit until they discover a great genre sci-fi movie CGI set piece. These aliens, known as the Regents, a memorable alien race name that will no doubt stick with us in the same way Klingon or Na'vi has. Lieutenant John Cena goes to investigate, touches the craft, which triggers some kind of force field, because I guess even advanced alien tech has to abide by illogical summer blockbuster movie rules. Wouldn't they at least have some motion sensors, infrared, or some kind of detection that would let them know, hey, some hovercrafts and 70% made of water creatures that use 5 to 10% of their available brain capacity, who used 2% of that when they wrote this movie, are approaching? Wouldn't they put the shield up before the hull was even touched? Yes, they would, but that wouldn't serve the story here, which has Lieutenant Hero trapped on the inside. Knowing that, Act 1 will enter into Act 2. Liam Neeson makes the tough choice over his hottie spawn's objections not to fire because they're required and not really thought through. Because, come on, he's inside of a force field. Bullets aren't going to penetrate it. There's no drama in the decision to fire here. But whatever, they do, it fails, and now we have Obi-Wan and Luke and company on the inside trying to lower the shields on the Death Star so the rebels, or in this case Navy bullets and Wright brother planes, can launch their primitive attack. Much of Act 2 is Taylor Kitsch trying to sabotage the aliens from behind the shield, while Unknown coordinates an attack at sea where the battle for Earth begins, if you haven't read the poster's tagline already. Fire, miss, fire, miss, fire, hit. This type of fighting at the speed of telegraph can only go on for so long in the first half of the movie before it gets boring. So as Independence Day gave us smaller attack ships launched from the mothership, here we go to the next step. The aliens come out of the attack ships and show themselves to be from the Halo video game universe. Are Microsoft and Bungie aware that Hasbay has ripped off their astronaut soldier suit designs? This is another subconscious marketing strategy aimed at creating urges within us to nag us to want to see this. Is anyone else thinking when they watch this preview, those guys kind of look like they're from Halo? And since we're not going to get that movie anytime soon, maybe it'll be fun to see Battleship. No, it won't. Be aware of your thoughts. This is intentional. Do an internet search for Halo, and you'll see a way too coincidental resemblance. Yet more evidence that this is nowhere close to trying to be a Battleship adaptation. But hey, I guess you gotta have hand-to-hand combat, so it seems like a great update made for Generation Text. By Act 3, Taylor will figure out how to make the aliens vulnerable, and humans will launch all the bows and arrows and horse-pulled carriages they have, which leads to victory somehow in the most not even close to the source material title of this movie kind of way. Let's ask ourselves, what's interesting about this movie as seen in the preview? The story? The characters? Nope. The effects? Yes. The aliens? Sort of. Liam Neeson? Definitely. I do want to give Peter Berg some general props. He started out as an actor and then made the switch to directing with one of my favorite dark comedies, 1998's Very Bad Things. Along the way, he's done Friday Night Lights, the movie and the TV series, The Rundown, The Kingdom, and Hancock. He does solid work, but he doesn't really have a signature style. You know when you're watching Scorsese, Spielberg, Nolan, Bay, or even Taylor and Neveldine. What's Peter Bergian? A shaky cam? Some zooms? Nothing really stands out. I guess it's like one of the movies he wrote, The Losers. He's kind of a mercenary, a hired gun that can get the job done without any traces that he was involved in the project. Because of that, Battleship should be competent in its technique. But what about the story? That's up to the writing team of Eric and John Hober. They've scripted Whiteout and Red. Decent films, but not automatic additions to anyone's Blu-ray collection. Not an encouraging sign. I can respect Berg taking on the challenge of stretching himself with an action sci-fi movie, but there's nothing inspiring about it. While he doesn't have the Bay 80D camera style, and we should actually be able to see the aliens fighting here, it's not enough to impress us. It's also pretty much a guarantee that in his first meeting with Hasbay, they told him, just make it feel like a Transformers movie. One element unfortunately not being sold in the previews, probably because it's actually something different and interesting and risky, characteristics that usually jeopardize opening weekend box office, is that this is supposed to be told from both points of view. Surprisingly, like the board game, we'll get the story from the humans and the Regent's perspective. That actually makes me want to kind of see this now. War films of the past that have done this both sides of the story coin approach include The Longest Day, which gave us the German and American thought process, Tora Tora Tora, which dramatized the Pearl Harbor attack, both from the Japanese and American sides, and Clint Eastwood even made 2 separate films using this idea regarding the battle for Iwo Jima, Flags of Our Fathers and Letters from Iwo Jima. But hold on a second, let's not get too excited, because this would mean actually creating a believable alien race with their own universe, their own laws, custom, beliefs, rules, and codes of conduct, which would blah blah blah, forget it, that's too much work, so it's probably gonna be lame. Honestly, if Transformers, which had multiple TV seasons, years of various incarnations, comic books, and video game storylines couldn't mine all that potential for a great 8-hour trilogy, what are the chances a story based on the smallest quark of an idea is gonna yield big screen amazingness? About the same chances a watercraft has of defeating a spacecraft. The battle between Movie Hope and Moviepocalypse rages on here. Each release date can be seen as Battleship Game Coordinate Attacks. Here, StoryCorp has decided on May 18th, or M18. Unfortunately, we must report it's a hit on our good movie ship, and the more money it makes, the deeper we sink. The movie preview critic rates Humans vs. Halo, unworthy of big screen viewing. See it as a rental. It has no creative balls, but if you're an action movie and sci-fi lover, it should satisfy your need to see new genre set pieces. It's loud, so if you're doing a date night, it'll make for a good opportunity to do the popcorn trick. It's predictable and cliche, and a celluloid Frankenstein created by Studio Market Research with forgettable characters. Without question, this is definitely a sign of the Moviepocalypse, mainly because its story consciousness is regressive. It sets back the growth of movies. From its birth as an excuse to market a familiar title, to its mashed up story elements that borrow from Halo, Transformers, Independence Day, War of the Worlds, and V. Throw in one-dimensional characters, and this might actually cause brain damage. It makes you forget about the better movies in the same genre and takes their place in our memories as the standard of quality. So be warned, those who don't remember the movie past are doomed to rewatch it. When it comes to its place in movie history, it'll be more coherent than Revenge of the Fallen, but not as old-fashioned big-budget summer blockbuster entertaining as Independence Day. Do yourself a favor and see Das Boot instead for a truly authentic adaptation of Battleship. If you're just in the mood for CGI, then fast forward to the genre money shots in Skyline and Transformers Dark of the Moon. Or wait a few more weeks after Battleformers for the release of Ridley Scott's Alien prequel Prometheus and feast on those effects. How much of our box office energy will the regions harness? Skyline made $11 million opening weekend, though its budget was only $10 and it ended up taking in $65 worldwide. Transformers movies tend to make about $100 million when they open, and 4 of Liam Neeson's last 5 movies have opened making an average of $25 million. With a budget of $200 million, Battleformers is gonna need a big opening weekend before word of mouth spreads and slows the money down. It comes out May 18th, 2 weeks after Avengers, 1 week before Men in Black, and 3 weeks before Prometheus. That's a very small window of audience mind space to aim at, even if it fires all of its marketing guns. Chances are most moviegoers are gonna save their money for the bigger names and highly anticipated projects or pay for multiple screenings of the Avengers. Let's say opening weekend it'll make $30 million, worldwide it'll make a decent amount, taking in around $300 by the time the money machine stopped counting. What do you think, good movie lovers? Are you looking forward to Battleformers? What makes you want to see it and what doesn't? And how has this review changed the way you see the film? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. My reviews are just my personal opinion, so if the anticipation of checking out this film is bringing joy into your life, then follow your movie heart, defend your passion, and share your views with peace, respect, and understanding. Consider yourselves advised. For Battleship, remember, Hollywood, aka StoryCorp, give us more of what we pay for, so choose your movies wisely. And as always, long live good movies.